incredibly troubling scene in Florida where a sheriff says a 14-year-old girl was shot after she and a 12-year-old boy opened fire and engaged in a shootout with sheriff's deputies. The sheriff says the two foster children had run away from the juvenile home where they were staying, and then they broke into another home that had multiple guns in it, including an AK-47.
It happened in Deltona. It's about 45 minutes north of Orlando, Florida. Layla Santiago joins us live with the very latest. So these gunmen were gun children, 12 and 14 years old.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to hear that, Jim. And, you know, the Volusia County Sheriff says in his 30-plus years in law enforcement, he has never seen anything like this. It left his deputies with nowhere to hide but the trees. That's a quote. We are expecting the body cam footage to be released later this afternoon, so we're hoping to learn a little bit more of how this went down and what led up to it then. But here's what we have learned from the sheriff himself. He says that, as you mentioned, a 12 and 14-year-old ran away from their foster home, ended up breaking into a home with guns. When police approached, they tried several de-escalation tactics, according to the sheriff, but eventually the 14-year-old ended up threatening to kill one of the sergeants. Shortly after that, the shootout took place. According to the sheriff, the teens were shooting from different angles in the homes. And there were 8 deputies involved. None of the deputies were hurt, but we understand, according to the sheriff, the 14-year-old is fighting for her life. As for the 12-year-old, the sheriff says that the 12-year-old was a severe diabetic, but beyond those issues is expected to be okay. I gotta tell you, this sheriff, when he spoke, he was so angry, impassioned, even questioned the future of law enforcement. Take a listen.
Deputies did everything they could tonight to de-escalate, and they almost lost their lives to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. Where have we gone wrong that 12-year-old and 14-year-old think it's okay to take on law enforcement?